All right, everybody, let's roll. Welcome to AZ Wordsmith's Stories That Matter. For those of you who don't know, this is Badass and Brilliant. This is our 2-year anniversary. Why are stories important? And I'm going to roll through this because this is a lot for me to memorize and I didn't do it well. Stories foster compassion and understanding. They help people appreciate the complexities of the human condition, I think. And they recognize the shared humanity that we all have. Stories convey our sense of right and wrong and our organizational culture, the expectations we set for ourselves and others that we know. Stories shape our worldviews, our concerns, our fascinations, and our lives in general. Reynolds Price once said, our need to tell and hear stories is essential. Stories are second in necessity after nourishment, before love and shelter. We can survive without love or home, but rarely in silence. Okay, our next storyteller, Mallory Gish.
Hi. It's not a happy story that I'm going to be telling. It's a hard story. Something I went through in 1997. And the reason I'm sharing it now is because sometimes you have a lot of shame with certain stories and you want to just be done with it. So in 1997, the middle of that year, I had ended a 10-year relationship with this guy. And I actually thought he would chase after me, you know, even though I'm the one that ended it. And so that's my crazy thinking. So after he did not pursue me again, after I broke it off, I started getting really depressed. And as more time went on, I got more depressed. And sometimes when you talk to yourself, you don't talk to yourself the good things. So I was talking to myself that it was unrequited love. He didn't really love me, that he would have pursued me if he really loved me. That's what I was saying. And so then I started telling myself that my family really didn't care about me. And then I started saying that God didn't love me. Now, whatever it is to you, higher power, but to me it was God. So I started telling God that you don't even love me. So I didn't really want to live in this world without love. Everybody wants to be loved or to love someone. So I started telling God that I was going to kill myself. I didn't tell anybody. I said I'm going to go to a indoor shooting range. I'm going to rent a handgun. I'm going to buy the ammunition. I'm going to buy the target and pretend like I'm going to target shoot, but I'm going to turn the gun on myself. Now, I told only God this. So I chose a date, January 28th, 1998. Don't ask me why I chose that date, but I guess maybe because I wanted to finish the year and start the year right by ending my life. Okay? It's crazy thinking that when there's a lot of emotion and hurt, this is the thinking. So as 1998 came, and now we're in January here, it's January 28th, 1998. I told God that morning that when I go to work, I was a school bus driver part-time, I'm going to go to the shooting range and I'm never going to be here again. I'm going to end my life. So that morning at 5 a.m. in the morning, that's bus driver hours, I hear this call, Mallory, and I'm looking across the yard, and I said, Minerva? She's like, come here. So I go over to Minerva, and she says to me, Mallory, for the last 3 nights, God has been waking me up. She says, he wants me to tell you a message. And I'm like, God told me to tell you that he loves you and not to take your life. Now, I didn't tell anybody that story. The only person I said was to God. In my, whatever that is to you, I was speaking that to him. And here she spoke this to me. I said, how? How do you know this? She goes, God has been pressuring me, and he said I had to tell you today, no matter what. January 28th, 5 a.m. in the morning, 1998. And she said, Mallory, my shame, my pride, my hurt was because I was going to do that to myself. And he used me to speak to you. But I didn't want it. It took 3 days before I gave in and decided to step out of my comfort zone and tell you what God wanted me, what he wanted me to say to you. And I said, in my mind, I'm thinking, how do I process this? I'm getting ready to pick up a busload of kids. I start crying uncontrollable, like a child cries, where they're just, they can't control it. So I ended up calling off work. I went home, and I could not stop crying. I just kept crying and crying all day long. I just seemed like I cried. So did I turn to God? It was a pivotal thing, that moment. You know, at that moment, no, I didn't. But I was processing stuff. I'm a very slow processor. So, as I stand here today, if Minerva Tienda had not gotten my attention that morning, I would not be standing here. Okay? I would be, my life on my grave would say January 28th, 1998. Now, the strange thing that I've learned from this whole thing, it's 2 weeks later. Now, in my family, my great-grandfather had killed himself. So my mom's brother, 2 weeks later, took his life. And I got to see what the family goes through when someone does that to themselves. I got to see the pain, the suffering that my mom went through, that her brother, her older brother, would do that. And I can think of years later that my mom was still questioning that years later. So the other thing is the pain and suffering that a person goes through. You don't even know. I'm looking out here and I see a bunch of people, but you don't even know what people are walking in and what they walk into every day, you know? And depression is really real. And when you get to the point of wanting to off your life because your life just doesn't have any value, it seemed like that. That's what it seemed like. But the lesson I learned here, the other lesson was someone up there found me significant enough to use someone else to say, I love you, and I don't want you to commit suicide. So the other lesson is life is not easy. And have I ever thought about suicide after that? Well, I've been depressed 2 times as much as that in my life, when I lost my father and when I lost my mom. I had that level of depression. But I said to myself after that experience with my mom and seeing what she went through, I said, I just can't do that. I just got to plow through all the stuff that we go through and continue living. Well, here I am today. And guess what? The world is a better place because I live in it. That's it.
So Mallory was a school bus driver for many years in Los Angeles, in the Valley, and actually not too far from where I lived in the Valley. And one of the stories we're familiar with is she, at one point, is directly responsible for saving dozens of children from a terrorist attack who was targeting the school buses then. And she saw him, identified him, thought something was suspicious, and ended up, alerting the authorities and saved those children. She came in here in 2019, right around this time of year. So, Prescott is better for you, or better for you being here, if you will. And let's see, what would she want to be? She wanted to be a girls' basketball player. Oh, baseball player. Okay, good. That makes more sense. Not working for me. Okay. Apologize for that. Let's see. And her epitaph would be, "No life, no matter how long or small, is insignificant. I lived." Thank you. Couple of quotes. "What we think or what we know or what we believe is in the end of little consequence. The only thing of consequence is what we do." Okay, that was from John Ruskin. Thank you for coming. Thank you. Have a safe and happy holiday season, and be careful.